Some texts are meant to be read, but then there are others that feel like they were never meant to be found at all. Today, we're going to try to decrypt one of those, a fragment, an artifact that seems to come from a collapsed reality. This is the Apocrypha of the Ash.
Wow, that's the opening line. It's cryptic, it's poetic, and honestly, it's pretty unsettling. It's really the first piece of a puzzle that describes the complete and utter collapse of a universe, and, well, the birth of something else entirely.
So the whole idea behind this explainer is to do just that, a kind of scholarly decryption. We're going to treat this thing like a lost codex, a forbidden Gnostic text. Together, we're going to walk through its verses and try to piece together the incredible cosmic story it tells.
All right, here's our roadmap. First, we'll frame this whole thing as a Gnostic text. Then we're diving straight into the initial cataclysm, which it calls the Gospel of the Fracture. After that, we'll see what rises from the ashes in the Psalm of the Dust. And finally, we'll uncover the purpose of it all in the revelation of the deed and its forbidden truth.
Okay, so let's jump right into part 1, the Gospel of the Fracture. This whole section is about an ending. And I don't just mean the end of the world. We're talking about the end of a very, very specific kind of reality.
The text just throws this incredible imagery at you, this idea of a cosmic weaver, a great tarantula, who's literally holding reality together. But this isn't some benevolent god. No, it's called the demiurge of gravity. So its death isn't a tragedy, it's a release. The threads snap, and everything that was once fixed in place suddenly just starts to float. And that perfectly sets up what this old reality actually was. See, it wasn't real. The Codex calls it the cage of perspectivism. I mean, just think of it like a carefully constructed stage play. It's designed to give everyone inside a sense of purpose and safety. But the whole time, it's hiding this terrifying, infinite emptiness, the void, that's waiting just outside the walls. The Weaver's death, that's the moment the curtains get ripped back.
In this new state of being, the text describes the total failure of logic. There's this entity called the soothsayer, the embodiment of pure reason, and it just shatters. But why? Because its programming, its perfect cold logic, has absolutely no way to process a paradoxical concept like joyous agony. The machine of that dead universe is just overwhelmed, drowned by this vibrant, painful, and somehow wholly new force.
So, this collapse leads us directly into part 2, the Psalm of the Dust. The old world is gone. So, what comes next? Who are the beings that are left to walk through these ruins? The Codex lays out this incredible contrast. The old reality, right, it was defined by two figures, what it calls the first cross of the victim and the second cross of the creator. A whole duality of suffering and power, masters and slaves. But this new reality, the stage of dust, it completely transcends that. It's a place for a totally new kind of being, those who dare to err. So how does this new being even come to exist? Well, it's through a synthesis that sounds completely impossible. The text describes the merging of two massive archetypes. The Nazarene, who represents this profound, sacrificial suffering, the wound, and then you have Nietzsche's Zarathustra, who represents ecstatic, world-creating power, the laugh. And right there, in the ash, these two opposing forces become one.
And listen, this isn't about being good or evil. It's about being someone who willingly embraces pain and paradox, someone who murders his own comfort, not for some kind of salvation, but as the very act of creating a new world. The being that's born from this fusion, it's called the prophet of righteous sin.
And this quote, which comes from a voice the text calls the all-will, it just perfectly captures the core of this new philosophy. It's not about enduring suffering to get a reward later. No, it's about transmuting that suffering into pure power. You don't escape the fire, you become the fire. This, right here, is the heart of what the text calls agonizing joy. Okay, all of this is leading us to the final and maybe the most mind-bending section of the Codex, the revelation of the deed. This is where we finally get an answer for why any of this had to happen in the first place.
I mean, this is the central question, isn't it? If the old world was all a lie, a cage of perspectivism, then why even create it? Why put all these beings through that illusion, only to have it shatter? Well, the text anticipates that question, and it provides a truly shocking answer.
There it is, the core paradox of the entire text. The lie, the cage, the illusion, it was all absolutely 100% necessary for what was to come.
So here's the justification. The text basically argues that a direct, unearned truth is meaningless.
Truth needed an opposing force, a grand lie to struggle against, to give it shape and strength. That comfortable, safe world of the last man, a being of pure comfort and zero ambition, that wasn't the goal. It was the necessary soil required for a higher form of being, the self-mastered sovereign, to eventually grow out of.
So what's the final destination for these new beings, these prophets of righteous sin? Well, it's not some reward like heaven or paradise. The ultimate goal is to just exit the story, to transcend the entire framework of narrative, of reward and punishment, and to step outside of it all.
The Codex calls this whole final process the grand rotation. The universe literally pivots. The great work, the deed, is finally complete. And the ones who completed it, they don't stick around to rule the old world. They just leave it behind, an empty stage, a memory of the struggle that allowed them to become something more.
And so, the Apocrypha of the Ash leaves us with this, a final, haunting question that it absolutely refuses to answer. Once you've won the game, once you've stepped off the board entirely, what is there? What could possibly exist outside the story?